The following presentation is controversial and may be offensive to some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Radio from the heart of America now.
America is back, standing tall, standing tall.
Ronald Reagan was the one who said that we are a shining city on a hill. We slid down the side of that hill.
I would like to take all the credit for this.
Government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem.
And now, the Commander-in-Chief is back. Freedom Friday with Carl Gallups, the Oval Office of Gulf Coast Talk Radio.
Welcome back, Gulf Coast. Welcome back, America. And now I want to welcome to the program, as I've been promising you for the last hour, a very dear friend of mine. I have grown to just love this man, and I know many of you have as well. IQ Al-Rasuli has been on our program as a guest many times. IQ was raised in the Islamic traditions and the Islamic religion in the Middle East. And then many years ago, he came out of it when he saw the evil for which most of it stands. And he has spent about the last 30 years of his life exposing this worldwide, exposing Islam for what it really is. One of his books, a blockbuster book, Lifting the Veil. Many of you have it and have purchased it, and you need to have that book. But IQ Al-Rasuli, about 2 years ago, he was telling us, I had him on this program, along with me and others, but IQ was right up there in the front of the line. He was telling us what was going to happen if Arab Spring really was pulled off. He was telling us what was going to happen in Egypt. He told us what was going to happen in Libya. He told us how this was going to impact the Middle East and Israel. He told us how it was going to impact Iran. And this was 2 years ago. And now everything that IQ Al-Rasuli said is now being played out on the evening news right before our eyes. Sadly, and I know he wished that everything he said didn't come to pass, but it has. IQ, I've asked you back on the show today because we need an update on everything you know about the Middle East and Iran and Israel and Egypt and Mohammed Morsi and Arab Spring, and welcome to Freedom Friday, IQ. We love you here.
Thank you, and I love you too. Believe me, it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm sorry to say, it's not a boast telling our listeners. I predicted 2 years ago all the following.
Yeah.
While most of the media, politicians, think tanks, and academicians in Europe and America were asserting that democracy, after all, has now come to the Arabs.
Yeah.
I predicted that there will never be democracy
yes, you did.
in any Muslim country, Arab or otherwise, because Sharia forbids it.
Yep.
Sharia is the nemesis of democracy.
Yeah, no, I remember when you said those very words 2 years ago, and right after Arab Spring broke out, you screamed them again, and people, acted like that you were off your rocker, but here we are.
Yeah, we're always thought of as off our rockers. I also said that each and every so-called Arab Spring revolution will be taken over by the Muslim Brotherhood because they are the best organized and the most ruthless.
Yep.
And this is exactly what Morsi of Egypt has done.
Yep.
After all, they took off Mubarak under Obama. Obama orchestrated the removal of Mubarak because he was a dictator.
Yes, he did.
And I said that was a mistake.
Yep.
And they replaced him with a Muslim Brotherhood, who himself now has taken all the reins of power.
Right.
People don't understand that under Sharia, which is the Islamic law, the governments in the Arab countries and Muslim countries, they will immediately start discriminating against the Christian Arabs.
Yep.
And they have been doing that since the day they took over. They have been terrorizing them, forcing them to flee or exterminating some of them.
Yes.
This has been the case for the last 2 years of Arab Spring. Obama and Hillary are the sole people guilty who single-handedly allowed the Muslim Brotherhood to take over the whole of North Africa. Can you imagine? Literally the whole of North Africa. And
right.
The next victims will be Syria and Jordan.
Right.
I also foretold that the neighboring Arab and Muslim states of almost 500 million people will gang up against Israel of 7 million people, forcing her ultimately to use nuclear weapons just to defend herself.
Right.
against such overwhelming forces. As you also said, I wish all my predictions would have been wrong.
Right.
I wish.
Right.
But what is happening is exactly what I predicted.
Right.
My greatest concern is the nuclear war in the Middle East. And it is going to happen. I'm sorry to say that, but it is going to happen. Because nobody is doing anything to stop it. The United Nations is packed against America and Israel. Packed. 28% of the United Nations is Muslim. They bribed another 56%. What do you have? Majority.
Yeah.
I mean, they were allowing a terrorist government whose charter is genocidal. Forget about Israel. Hamas is not only against Israel. Hezbollah is not against Israel. Not only against Israel. Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Muslim Brotherhood, and all Muslims have one single charter, is to literally make every human being on the planet Muslim. Now, I said it before and I repeat it again for those who are new.
Thank you.
Under Islam, those who are not Muslim, which is 80% of humanity today, 80%, all Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, atheists, agnostic, anybody who's not a Muslim, have three choices. One, to convert to Islam whether we like it or not. Two, to submit in humiliation and degradation as dhimmis under Islamic law forever. Or three, to be exterminated.
Right.
And the Muslims are doing all three at the same time.
Right.
They are literally doing all three at the same time.
Yeah, explain the dhimmi section, number 2, to people. I know what it is, but a lot of people don't, and they need to hear from you what that is. What the second part of submission.
Dhimmi is an Arabic word, which means subject people.
Right.
Now, they conquered North Africa. The Arabs were not in North Africa. The Arabs were not in Israel. The Arabs were not in my country, Iraq. They conquered it in the 7th century.
Right.
After having conquered it, they imposed taxation, onerous taxation, on the people they conquered to protect them. To protect them from whom?
Right. From them.
They are the conquerors.
That's right.
They are the imperialists, and they taxed the people they conquered so that they are protected. But it's not true. Dhimmis are not protected. They pay the jizya tax, which is a tax, it's an onerous tax, but they're not actually protected because under Sharia, a Christian, a Jew, a Buddhist, or a Hindu cannot go out as witnesses against Muslims.
Right.
So where is the law?
Right.
So where is the justice? They cannot be witnesses against a Muslim because the word of a Muslim, if he swears by the Quran, is infinitely superior to a Jew or a Christian or a Buddhist.
Right.
Under Sharia, under Dhimmi class, we are less than even the women of Islam. And that's saying something.
Yes.
Because the women of Islam are treated just a little step higher than domestic animals.
That's correct.
Did I say that? No.
No, that's correct.
Aisha said that. The wife of Muhammad said that.
Right.
She asked him. It's in Bukhari hadith. She said to him, why do you treat us women like donkeys and dogs? Ladies and gentlemen, Aisha was only a teenager when she said that to Muhammad. Muhammad was in his late 50s.
Right.
That was 1,400 years ago. Nothing has changed.
Right.
Nothing will ever change under Islam.
Right.
It is darkness. Sharia, in a nutshell, is hate-mongering, war-mongering, misogynist, racist, duplicitous, disloyal, vile, and is totally ungodly. And if there is any Muhammadan Muslim listening, anybody from CARE, any from the Islamic Council wants to debate me, please, I beg you, do so.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, IQ. Listen, let me ask you, so with Mohammed Morsi now attempting to become a pharaoh of Egypt, if you will, just seizing this monumental, monolithic power, it seems like there's almost another uprising now that is beginning to take place. Where do you see this going? What do you think is going to happen? More bloodshed? Will Morsi back down? Will he tighten the screws? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, first of all, people are very decent calling him a pharaoh.
Yeah.
He is doing what Hitler did.
Yeah.
He is der Führer, because that is exactly what Hitler did in the 30s. They elected him. The German people elected him democratically. What did he do? He put the Gestapo and the SS to terrorize everybody, and there were no more elections after that. The same thing with the Muslim Brotherhood. They copy exactly what Hitler did.
Right.
They were partners with him in World War II.
Right.
The Mufti of Jerusalem was a friend of Hitler, a friend of Himmler. He raised a division, Islamic soldiers division, to fight against the Russians in the Russian front.
Right.
So what do we have? Another upheaval, because many Egyptians truly wanted to have democracy. Many Egyptians are not Islamic, Muslim-oriented. They're secular.
Right.
But what I want people to understand is this. There is no such thing as a secular Muslim. It doesn't exist.
Right.
You are either a Muslim or you are not a Muslim. You cannot be a secular Muslim. It's impossible. There are no shades in Islam. You are either a believer, hence Sharia, or you are not a believer, since you are a dhimmi then.
Okay. Well, you know what?
Does that make sense to
yes.
you?
No.
If you understand it, then other people will be able to understand
Yes.
it.
No, it does make sense, but here's what I want to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, IQ, I'm going to ask you to explain again to our audience in great detail, because you hear people say, well, that's radical Islam. That's not the regular Muslim. I mean, that's radical Islam. But what you say is there's really no difference. There's no division, and I want you to explain that in great detail when we come back, okay?
With pleasure.
All right, good deal. Folks, you're listening to Freedom Friday. Carl Gallups, Mallory Bardwell, your world-famous producer. Our guest this afternoon, IQ Al-Rasuli, calling from an undisclosed location out of the Middle East/Europe, and a former Muslim, raised in Islam, and he has come out of it. He's exposing it. Good friend of mine, good friend of Freedom Fridays. We'll have him when we come back right after this timeout.